and welcome to our special show, Startup Journey to Success, which seeks to explore the key stepping stones towards building and scaling a startup in today's digitized world. I'm your host, Paramita Chatterjee. Now, a startup's journey from ideation to successful execution and ultimately generating a profit has many key ingredients, of which data is perhaps seen as one of the most important aspects. In fact, everyone, everywhere in the digital world is talking about the right data strategy. Terms like big data, artificial intelligence, machine learning, data engineering are some of the key buzzwords that you and I have been hearing all the time. So, today on the show, we will discuss what makes for a successful data strategy in the world of a startup. So, let's understand the building blocks from our team of experts today, starting with Greg Moran, CEO and co founder of Zoomcar, Kanika Tikrewal, founder JetSetGo, and Ravi Chhabria, Vice President Engineering and Managing Director at NetApp India. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start with you, Greg. And Zoom Car, of course, I mean, you sort of rewrote the rules as far as the car rental market is concerned. And what's very interesting is your own background, where you came from in terms of, having experience in finance. You've been part of, a lot of investment firms, as well as, of course, you have a keen understanding of technology as well. When you began your journey as far as Zoomcar is concerned, what were some of those, technology priorities, so to speak, and what role did data play in those early days of your startup?
I would say helped separate us in the early times. It was really just an innate, really curiosity and understanding of our customers and the behavior that they exhibited on our platform, and just really wanting to get to know our users much better and understand really what motivated them, what drove them, what they really found helpful about our service or platform, and what they didn't find as helpful, and what was not working really for them. And I think it was really that desire to really have that fundamental first principle understanding of how they engage with our service, how they engage with our product. I think that led us down the path from a data science and ultimately a broader data strategy to really get to know how we're going to kind of leverage this understanding, this quote unquote data of our customers, to then create better products and better user experiences from a very practical standpoint.
Indeed. So you first started really trying to understand the customer. And let me turn to Kanika here. You're not essentially a technology native company or person. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. How did you approach some of those priorities as well as, of course, the whole data strategy aspect?
I think, that was something that was our biggest challenge when we started the business, primarily because I always wanted to create an aviation company that worked using technology, that basically propelled out of India, advanced out of India using technology and data to make decisions. So just to give you an example, like today, if something goes wrong with an airplane, maintenance-wise, you have to diagnose the problem. You have to then fix the problem. That takes a lot of downtime with the airplane, right? We worked on a software where we try to predict what's going to go wrong with each plane for the next 8 to 10 years, at what time, so we can be prepared in that aspect using a lot of AI, data, etc. And I think, it was a combination of hiring the right people as well as doing a little learning myself.
Very interesting, Kanika and Greg. I think we've got some very interesting insights in terms of how you began your journey. And Ravi, let me bring you in here, because NetApp has been watching the journey of such startups. I mean, right from the very beginning, for the last, in fact, more than 2 decades, in fact, almost 3 decades. If correct me if I'm wrong. For startups, and in your experience, and particularly when it comes to NetApp, I mean, what's been the kind of key learnings, or rather some of the key mistakes perhaps that startups make when they initially start out, and what should be their key priorities?
When we look at our 3 decades of success with data, any of our customers or businesses that were building something, they'd have to think about building a data center first, something that's entirely alien to them or non-core to them. What's happened now really is that you're able to tackle very difficult, very innovative customer issues and problems without having to have a lot of understanding of technology and data. That's where NetApp comes in, because we specialize in something so folks can concentrate on their customers. So, if it's whether it's how Greg is innovating with Zoomcar, whether you look at what's happening in clinical data, clinical trials, whether you look at what's happening in consumer businesses that are built on data, a lot of what is happening over here is happening on a very critical resource, but it's happening with businesses focusing on their customers and not having to spend too much time on infrastructure. So the ones that do it well are the ones that are intensely focused on a customer outcome, on a business outcome, and make the right technology choices.
Okay, let me go across to Greg with this. I mean, Greg, what were those steps that you took? Because in some sense, you were sort of at the cusp between perhaps the kind of aggressive digitization we've seen, spurred by the pandemic. What were those key questions that you wanted answered by the data strategy that you were following?
So I think when you go from a model which was more sort of asset driven on kind of a one-to-one basis to a full-fledged marketplace, the way you think about data parameters and just the overall data strategy changes and morphs, because you're looking at really two sides of a transaction where you have two customers in every transaction. So I think the level of data intensity gets multiplied straight away by two. But then when you think about the journeys, so each transaction has kind of two independent customer journeys. So it's actually looking at then both sides of the customer journeys. So I think the actual sheer quantity goes up multiplicatively, but then the complexity is sort of more exponential. And so I think we had to go back. I mean, apart from just, the cloud is kind of, as you said, it's sort of basic, but it's more about the instrumentation and how you think about the overall sort of data architecture of the platform. And so that was what really sort of changed. And so we had to do a lot of rebooting and thinking about how to instrument.
Indeed, I think you've brought up a very important point. If data is not actionable, then it is meaningless. And I think that is a challenge that many companies face, not just startups, but even brick and mortar companies. Kanika, what's been your experience in this regard?
So we decided to take the shortcut initially. And like everyone else, we said, let's outsource what we don't know. We hired a few people who would help find the right people to outsource with, who will project manage everything from JetSetGo side, etc. And we went and we did a very detailed RFQ, RFI process, found the best companies to work with within our budget and within our constraints, of course. Only to realize that, you can't, for the business we're trying to build, for the kind of data we are handling, for the kind of analytics we're trying to get out of the data we are handling, you really cannot rely a lot on third-party companies, and a lot of confidentiality issues, a lot of customer data related issues also. So I think it took us a period of about 2.5 years to transition completely. We actually moved from one company to another company first, thinking maybe we've taken the wrong decision as a company, we've identified the wrong vendor. So we moved two vendors, and it was only then that we said, no, we've got to build everything in-house. We've got to work from scratch, hire more people, build a separate team. And today, as we speak, there's a completely different team in a different office who handles all of this.